The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their soul purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea Lynn. Today's guest is Pattie Ehsaei, and she's going to talk to us about her book that she wrote called Never Date a Broke Dude. And she's going to explain her life journey and how she ended up writing this book. Let's welcome Pattie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to get into the book, but I know the backstory of how you got there is a little less fun,
Yes.
but which I'm so sorry about, but
Thank you.
let's share with everybody because I think a lot of people have been through a lot of shit
Right.
and they stay in that place and
Yeah.
you've made something of it. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you for your kindness. I wrote Never Date a Broke Dude, the Financial Freedom Playbook, to make sure that women are financially independent. And this is what drives me. It's the story of my mother. My mother, when we lived in Iran, she was a powerhouse. She had a great career. She was the head nurse at the King's Hospital. So she made just as much money, if not more money, than my dad.
Okay.
So I saw that the power dynamics in the relationship were really solid, were very equal. She had a lot of say so in what happened. And once we fled to the United States, because the regime, when the revolution occurred, they were literally going to kill us. So once we fled to the United States, my mother was not able to pass the nursing exams due to the language barrier. So she couldn't work. And slowly but surely, I saw how her power started to diminish in the relationship with my father. And any time that they would argue, typically around money, she would always take me in a room and she would say, "Do you see how my life has changed because I don't have financial independence?" And she would say, "No matter how much money your husband makes, you always make and control your own money because whoever controls your money controls you." And that is something that really sat with me, and I thought that was such an important message. But it didn't become this important until my mother lost her life due to her lack of financial independence. She was in a psychologically abusive relationship with my father. And because of that, she became severely depressed. She was on a lot of psychotropic medication. And one day she had had it. And unfortunately and tragically, she took my father's life and then she took her own because she felt like she had no other choices and no other options.
How do you know that was what drove her to do that? I'm just curious.
Yes, because she had talked about how she wished that she could leave and that she couldn't. And in fact, at that point, I live in Los Angeles now, but I was living in Chicago. And at that point, she had come to live with me in Chicago. And here she felt like even more isolated. She didn't feel like she had her friends. She didn't have anyone. And then my dad flew to Chicago to try to get her back and have her come back they were living in Colorado at the time.
Okay.
And I remember my mother, what she said to me was, "I feel so trapped. I feel like I have to go back to a man that I hate because I don't have any choices." And I will never forget that. I will never forget that statement that she made to me. And throughout, before the incident happened, she would always be like, God, I wish I would leave. And I would encourage her. I was like, come back here. But her life wasn't in Chicago. She didn't have any friends. She didn't have any support system but me. And, I'm not enough. I was 24 years old. I had just started to be a prosecutor and I was busy. I was 24 years old. So I couldn't be the support system that she needed me to be. And even though I tried my hardest, I was just one person.
Yeah.
And, because of that, she felt like she had to go back. And what I wanted to do is turn my pain into purpose. And I don't want to get emotional, sorry. And I really wanted to honor her. So no other woman suffers like she did. And the best way to do that is to make sure that women understand the importance of financial independence and that it's literally a matter of life or death. It's buy that bag, whether you can buy the shoes. It's not just that. It could mean your life.
No, I agree. And yeah, I'm so sorry that happened. And you just have to, I'm sure and you just trust that that was a part of her journey, was helping you to be on your journey and helping you to help so many others. And so unfortunately it did cost her life, but I think that the really cool thing is that the loss of her life has translated into probably the saving of so many lives from
No,
your work.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the goal, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let her die in vain. I
Yeah.
refused. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that, her story helped other women. So, that was the inception of the title, Never Date a Broke Dude. It's a cheeky title and comes from me actually dating a broke dude in my 30s. And it was ridiculous. Oh my God, Andrea. I mean, I let him move in with me. I paid for everything. I didn't, he didn't have any money because he was in the industry. He was working on his career.
Yeah.
And yeah. And after that, after that relationship ended and he broke up with me, and I always say, these men break up with you because you're like their mother, because you're supporting them.
I can relate. I definitely have dated some people like that in the past too. And God, like, I can't even believe the nerve that they would have. It's like, well, you should pay for this one because you have more money than I do. And it's like, what? Like,
I know. I know.
I do believe in a man courting a woman, regardless of the money. I still think a man should want to take care of you. That doesn't mean the woman can't make just as much money or make money, but I do think he should want to be the protector.
Yeah. And, I want to push back on that a little bit because I think it's important for us to talk about this provider and protector. And, where the notion that a man is supposed to be a provider or protector, where that comes from is men hunters and women were gatherers. And we're saying that since we're no longer hunters and gatherers, that now men are supposed to be the providers and protectors and women are supposed to be the nurturers, right? So there's another side of a man is supposed to be the provider. That means, the woman needs to be the nurturer. But the interesting thing about this is that recent science has come out to show that women were hunting right along with the men. Women were hunting big game. They went along as warriors at war. And fossil evidence shows that they have the same battle scars as the men. And fossil evidence also showed that the artifacts that they were buried with, anytime they saw artifacts of early human that indicated that this person was a hunter or a warrior or a chief, they automatically assumed it was a man until they started to do bone analysis. And when they did bone analysis, they found out that 50% of the people that were buried with these artifacts were women. So that's how this all came about. So women have been hunting our whole lives. We have been providing for ourselves our whole lives. And I just want to make that clear to people. And if you believe that a man should provide, that's great. So, I'm not against that. I'm just saying that we have to know where that comes from and that we too are providers and protectors for ourselves.
I think you have to believe in yourself that you are capable of it as well and comfortable with it. And it has to be a choice. And because that wasn't your mother's choice and that wasn't her desire, that wasn't what she wanted. And so there is a big difference in, oh, I'm just going to do it because I think this is the way it should be, or no, this is the way we'd like to structure our lives.
Correct. And you can structure your life however you want, but I always say every woman needs to have FU money, and that is the money that you have in case something happens, in case you need to rent an apartment, in case you need to get a car, in case you need to get a cell phone. So every woman, regardless of what you choose in your life, you should have a separate account that has that money in there so you could do whatever you want, because that gives you choices, it gives you options, and it also gives you safety.
Yeah. Well, that that's interesting though when you say that, because I'm thinking, gosh, like what a I don't know, like it's such a preparation for an exit plan. It's interesting because I don't think men do that.
Well, they don't do that because they typically control the money. Even women who make money, 75% of women that make money hand it over right to their husbands and say, go do with it whatever you want. And because we've been conditioned to believe that a man is better at money than we are. And that is so false. I mean, women have been proven to be better investors.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
we are. So
Yeah.
handing over the paycheck to him means that we don't
Yeah.
have control over our own funds.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Because, yeah, I think my husband would definitely say I don't know if he'd say this, but I think I'm a little more organized when it comes to things. But yeah, he's taken over some of it just because it's a long story, but yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. So your book, what are the top reasons in there? Like why never date a broke dude? Because I think it goes beyond just being able to have an exit plan.
Right. I think that it's really important for everybody, not just women, everybody to understand that you have to date someone that matches your energy.
Mhm.
That's the important takeaway of never date a broke dude. So if you're a hustler, you have to be with a hustler.
Yes.
If you are someone that, is ambitious, you have to be ambitious. And a broke dude in the book is defined as someone who is unable or unwilling to match your ambition, your work ethic, or your commitment, regardless of gender, regardless of bank account.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of people that are rich that have just inherited it. Those people are broke dudes in my eyes because they're not hustling. And my theory is that you don't have to match me dollar, but you do have to match me hustle for hustle.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I remember, I think, reading that somewhere when I was reading about you. But yeah, I couldn't agree more because the ambition is so important. And exactly, it doesn't have to be dollar for dollar, but if you
No.
have the drive and the desire to constantly want more and try to achieve more, but then you marry somebody, or you're not even married, but you're with somebody that is just there's people that are content being comfortable and not striving for more. I didn't really realize this until having conversations with people about this topic where not everybody wants more. Some people are
Right.
like, what I've got is good. And they're
Yeah.
just and that's fine.
That's okay.
But that would not be a match for me. And yeah, I agree though. It's really important when you're dating to not it's not about dating the paycheck and how much they're making, but their ambition in life to go places. Because if you really want to go places too, and then you have somebody, they're not even going to support your desires. They're just going to look at you like you're crazy for pushing so hard. And you want somebody alongside you that supports you because they can understand what you're doing.
Yep, exactly. And what's interesting is that I really believe that if you someone that doesn't match your ambition, you degrade down to their level. It's really hard to make them come up. It's
Mhm.
really, really hard because that's just who they are.
Yeah.
It's easier to like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to do all this. Maybe. And typically what happens in those relationships is that the person that doesn't have the ambition or the drive becomes jealous of your success because they don't have the same level of success. So they're going to dim your shine.
Mhm.
You're not going to feel comfortable bragging about your accolades. You're not going to feel comfortable saying, oh my God, look at all these amazing things that I'm doing, because he or she is going to feel like, oh, well, you're just bragging, and they're never going to feel like they're enough.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. You're not going to have that push behind you to keep at it. You're going to
Correct.
keep trying and trying. And then slowly, I think you will start falling down. It's like, oh, what am I doing this for? The person I love and care about doesn't even care about what I'm doing either. So forget it.
Right.
Because it does get hard, right? When you're trying to make that climb, there's points that are really, really hard. And if you don't have the support, I think you could easily just give up. But because you're going to give up on yourself at moments, right? There's going to be times where you're
Yes.
kind of like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Like, what am I doing? But then when you have that person in your corner going, no, 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 look at all that you've done. Like you're meant to be doing this.
Mhm.
Keep going. It's like, all right. Okay. You're right. So you do need to have that support to keep going. But I want to talk about your debt because you said you were 30K in debt at one point. And I want to talk about how people can get out of debt because I think a lot of people might listen and think, well, I'm that person. I want more in my life, but I'm so buried in debt. Can't even, I can't even focus on something bigger right
Yeah.
now.
Sure. And, I want to be clear. I was just $30,000 in credit card debt. I had $160,000 worth of student loan debt at that time too. So I had
Okay.
$190,000 worth of debt after I broke up with this guy. And I got out of it within 5 years. It took me 5 years. I bought my own place. I paid off my student loans and I became financially responsible. And here's how I did it. The first thing you need to do, first and foremost, is you need to get on a budget. That's the most important thing because the only way you're going to pay off that debt is if you're spending less than you're making.
Mhm.
Now, some people say, well, I already live paycheck to paycheck. I literally don't have the money. I understand. If you
Yeah.
have debt, you need to get a side hustle. It's only
Okay.
temporary. It's not forever. And I tell people when I was a prosecutor in Chicago, I was making $30,000 a year and I had to pay off my student loan debt when I started as a prosecutor. I was working as a waitress at night. I was prosecutor by day, waitress at night, because I knew how important it was to have a side hustle. So there's no shame in that game. Get a side hustle.
Yeah.
There really isn't. So you get a side hustle, and then what you do is you make a plan as far as your budget goes. There's so many online apps right now, but when I was doing it, I had to do it, freehand. I had to do it on, in a notebook, an Excel spreadsheet. But now there's so many budgeting apps that you can set your budget, what your goals are, how much you want to spend, how much you want to pay off your debt. So get on a budget. Really, really important. The next thing you want to do is you want to automate your paycheck to go into 5 different accounts. And here's the way that you automate it. And you automate it so you don't have to see it, so you're not likely to spend that money.
Mhm.
First, you have a checking account for your needs. And those are things that you need to survive. Your rent money, your car note, gas, groceries, all of that. 50% of what you make should go into that account.
Mhm.
Then you have another checking account for your wants. That's your play money. 30% max. I'm talking max. If you have debt, 20% should go into that account. And the rest of that 10% should go to paying off your debt. Okay. But we're just giving general ideas.
Yeah.
Then 10% should go into savings. And that's for bigger purchases that you
Okay.
have. 5% should go into an emergency fund. And that is for emergencies. And that's different from your savings. Emergency fund is for emergencies. And 5% should go into an investment account. Once your emergency fund reaches 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, that money goes into your investment account. And then you start investing. And you need to start investing as early as possible. Because for me, I started investing 10 years later than I should have. And it cost me at least $2 to $3 million.
Okay. What do you recommend people investing in?
You don't invest in the hot stocks. Do not
Okay.
invest in Tesla, Apple. Things sound great, right? And they
Yes.
typically are. Here's
Yes.
the problem. All of these stocks can go to zero at any given time. And they're like, no, it can't. Just imagine. Tesla was a month away from going bankrupt. What if Apple phones started exploding?
Right.
What's going to happen to that stock? What if you find that Jeff Bezos has been embezzling money? What's going to happen to Amazon? Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't buy those. What you buy are ETFs and index funds. And
Mhm.
ETFs and index funds are a pool of funds. And since they're a pool of funds, they're diversified. So they're
Right.
never going to go to zero. If one is doing poorly, the other stock is doing better. So it evens out.
Mm-hmm.
And you set it up every single month for a certain amount to transfer from your checking account into your investment account. And you set it up to buy every single month, ETFs and index funds. Now, which ones are you going to buy? Great question. The ones that you're going to buy are, what you're going to do is you're going to Google top ETFs and index funds for performance in the past 5 years, not the last quarter, not the last year, because those could be aberrations. In the past 5 years, and you buy those index funds and ETFs.
Because you're in it for the
And you
long
set it and
haul,
you forget it.
right?
You're in it for the long haul. Investing, this is what I want people to understand. Investing is not a short-term play. These people that day trade, 0.01% of day traders make a lot of money. I mean, those are like, nobody isn't doing that. Yeah, day trading is not a thing. People don't get that. Month trading is not a thing. Week trading is not a thing. You have to be in it for the long haul. So you have to be in the stock market for at least 10 years to beat the cyclical nature of the stock market. 10 years. And historically, if you're in the stock market for 15 years, you're not going to lose any money.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that are, I don't want to categorize anybody, so maybe I won't. But there's a generational thing where there's some impatience and they want it now, and they see the stock market and they see, oh, if I would have done that last month, I would have already made X amount. And people are not like, and some of these people, if you're 20 years old, you've got the time. I mean, I hope you've got the time, like you can write it out. You can write it out. Go with the safety things. And I couldn't agree more with what you're saying about some of the companies. Exactly. I mean, something personal can come out about a CEO or some of these things. It's just, and everybody's just done with it immediately. Or even, the newer cars, that they could all just start blowing up and then nobody's going to want anything to do with them. One massive safety problem with some of these things and it's over. So I couldn't agree more with don't go with those hot newer stocks for sure. No, go with the tried and true for sure. That's all really great advice. Is that the best advice you give from your book, or is there something else in the book that you talk about?
I think the best advice I give, because it all comes down to your self-worth and your self-esteem and who you believe that you are and what you want to be. Because without that, that's your operating system. Without that, you're going nowhere fast. And I think that you have to change your mind into how you think about money and how you're going to make your own money. And I think the best advice that I give is a chapter is called Be Your Own Prince. And I say that because we have been brainwashed to believe that our entire self-worth and value is dependent on some dude choosing us, that we need to be rescued somehow. And that couldn't be further from the truth. You want to be your own prince because you want to give yourself the life that you want, because that is the highest form of self-love. Because I've said before, money is power, and money gives you options. It gives you choices. And also gives you safety. Stop waiting for someone to come and rescue you mentally, emotionally, because he is not coming. And even if he does, he may not stay. And what are you going to do then? And I always say the Prince Charming thing is a fallacy, because the high value man who is truly a Prince Charming is not going to want a damsel in distress. That person is going to want a pet project. Okay. Or a person who is whole and healed is going to want a woman who is also whole and healed. Right. And that she has her own life. She has her own money so that they can build together.
Absolutely. So the question that comes from that, though, is what do you tell people for how they can begin to feel worthy of the money? Because I do think there are women that feel like they are not worthy of the high income. They're just not. They think that's not for me. Like, I could never make that much money. Like, they just don't have, there's something within some women where they just don't have it in them to ask for more. They don't think they deserve it for some reason.
Yes. And it's because we have been brainwashed to believe that it all comes from our childhood that,
Yes.
we are not to do that. A
Mhm.
man is supposed to be the one that's doing that, not us. So
Mhm.
we're not with money. We're not good risk takers. We're coddled. We're afraid to take risks. We don't believe in ourselves, and we really believe that we're second class citizens. Unfortunately,
I
so
also
because
think there's a little bit of don't ask for more when you're a child, right?
yes,
Like, don't be rude, don't be
yes,
intrusive, and, don't ask for more than your share.
yes,
And which, I mean, I agree. There's times and
yeah,
there's an appropriateness to it, right? But then there's
yeah,
also that building up your child or even adult, whatever it be, but like
yeah.
building yourself up to a place where you know your worth and you'll ask for it.
Mhm. And we've been told not to brag, right?
Yeah.
We've been told not to brag.
Mhm.
And we have been told to dim our light because it makes people uncomfortable if we're loud, if we're
Mhm.
bragging about ourselves, if we're boisterous. Men, they're encouraged to do all of those things, and
Mhm.
we're not.
Yeah.
And you see that in the workplace. Men walk around the office with their head up, their chest out, just brimming with confidence, brimming. And it's like
Yeah.
his second day. I'm like, dude, it's
Yeah.
his second day. It's so big.
Yeah.
The women are like shrinking violets. Men brag about themselves all the time and they get noticed. We don't. Because
Yeah.
again, we're told that, that's not nice. That's not ladylike. In fact, studies show that women who brag about themselves are less liked.
It's
And because
interesting you say that because I feel like when men are sharing all their accolades, people look at them like, "Oh, wow, like, look what you've
yeah,
done. That's
yeah.
impressive. That's amazing." But if a female is doing it, it's like, "Oh, look at her just bragging about herself."
No, absolutely. I mean, we could say the same exact thing in the same exact way as a man, right? And
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, wow, he really is a leader. He's so decisive, and we'll be called bitchy and bossy. For
Well,
this,
and I think for a man, it's like, "Oh, and he's worked so hard, and oh, man." And then a woman,
yeah.
it's more, she got lucky or who'd she sleep with?
No, absolutely. And you know what? This is what's so telling about this and how ridiculous it is. That you think that when women get to the top, it's because, yeah, who did she sleep with? It's the DEI hire, all that stuff, right? But there's a study that looked at CEO performance based on gender and color. Okay.
Mhm.
Top performing CEOs, women of color, top performing. Next, white women.
Mm.
Next, you have men of color. And lastly, the biggest composition of Fortune 500 CEOs, white men.
Mhm.
So what does that tell you? And we only comprise 10% of the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. So
So what
that's
I hear is the world could be functioning a lot better.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that we have had to work 10 times as hard to get the job of a CEO. We have had to outperform these dudes to such a degree that when we're in the job, we're killing it.
Yeah.
They can't compete with us.
But why is there this belief that women, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys, but I do think we're a little smarter.
Ab-
Like like,
We are.
what
That's just facts.
I mean, like, we have to be, especially I know you don't wanna go into, like, maybe the nurturer, protector, but as women, I feel like innately we are the protectors, and to be a protector, you have to have all the foresight in the world,
Yes.
and men are they don't have as much foresight. I'm sorry, men, but I just don't think they have as much foresight as a woman, and I think that serves any workforce so much better, but
No, absolutely. Have you heard the Hewlett Packard study? Did you hear about this? This is really
no,
telling. So
no.
Hewlett Packard did a study. Yeah, Hewlett Packard did a study because they wanted to know why women were not applying for upper level jobs. Okay.
Okay.
Did the study, the results came back. It found that in order for a woman to apply for an upper level job, she felt like she had to meet 100% of the requirements, 100%. The men, 60%.
Hmm.
So the guy is like, I know I have a big fat F in the requirements, but I'm going to apply anyway.
Yeah.
Just let me apply. He applies and gets the job versus the woman who meets 85% of the requirements and didn't apply. She's stuck at her dead end job calling him boss.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because we've been, again, because of this like provide and protector, that men are supposed to be leaders. They're supposed to be the leaders at home and the leaders in the workplace, not you. You know, there were laws that prevented us from working. And even when they did let us in the workplace, they paid us half of what they paid the men. And they stuck us in these supportive roles like secretary.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still
Well,
paying today.
and I think women can be more realistic with things. And so, like you're saying, though, you read this job description and a woman's going to look at it and they're going to be real and they're going to be honest about it. And
Yeah.
they know they don't meet the criteria. So, okay, I'm not going to apply. But some man, sorry, men, but some will read
Yeah.
it and their ego is going to step in and they're like, but I'm good enough. It's fine. And so, yeah, like you said, they apply.
Yeah. And we should take a page out of that book, right? I mean, we should have confidence in ourselves, just like them, to be like, you know what? I may not meet all the requirements, but I'm smart enough to figure it out.
For sure. What other pages from a man's book do you think we should take?
Another page from a man's book that we should take is that marriage is not an end all be all for us. Because, you know, in society, it's like the woman is begging for the guy to propose and the guy is literally running from proposing. You know, and it's because we've been told that if we're not married or have kids, we're going to be lonely, miserable, childless cat ladies.
Yeah.
And again, that is a campaign created by the patriarchy to make us believe that our entire self-worth is dependent on some guy proposing to us. And that's why when a guy proposes, we practically pass out. You know, like, you've seen the proposals. I'm like, girl, get up. You're making a fool of yourself. You know, you don't see men acting that way. Because
No.
men are not valued by a woman choosing them, unlike us, right?
Mhm.
The guy,
And they already know, right? They have the
yeah.
upper hand. They already know that she is just begging for that ring.
absolutely. And again, it's like they have to be coaxed into getting married. And you can see this, like the old guy at the bar who's never been married, who doesn't have kids, he's revered for being childless and single. Everybody wants to be like him, you know?
Yeah.
Call him the OG player. Wow, this guy is like, look how messy, you've never gotten married. Good for you.
Yeah.
But we're like the childless cat ladies. That's another thing that we need to stop even thinking about.
Yeah. That's funny. That's really interesting. Okay. So to wrap this up, any key tips that you want to pass along from your book?
Yes. So I think the main key tip is you are capable and worthy of creating the life that you want for yourself.
Yeah.
All you need is some tools, because you are just as smart as any man out there. And we women have proven that. Despite all of the obstacles in our way, even today, we are killing the game.
Someone listens to that message you just said and they say, all right, that's it. I'm done. I want to build up my self-worth today. What do you tell them to do?
At first, and honestly, this is the truth, get the book, get my book, because I give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it.
Okay.
And I talk about how you just have to fake it till you make it. Even if you don't think that you can do this, you just have to try. Because what you believe about yourself and how you act in accordance to that belief is the number one determining factor in who you become in the future. So if you believe that you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, and that's how you act, that's what you're going to be. And even if you don't believe it, you start acting like it. It doesn't matter. That's the best part. Facts don't matter. Reality doesn't matter. Just start acting like it.
If you start shifting, you can start shifting your reality by, yeah, I agree. I can see that, where just fake it once and see how it feels. And you might be like, I'm not actually faking it. I do have that belief.
Right. And it's not going to be comfortable the first few times that you fake it, right? You're going to feel like an imposter, but it doesn't matter. It's like a muscle. Keep going. And eventually your actions will lead you to believe that you do deserve the life that you want. And you can give it to yourself. You just need some tools. And you got to jump regardless. of the fear, right? Regardless of the insecurities, regardless of all of that, just
Mhm.
take the first step.
And I always say growth will not happen without being uncomfortable, because if you are comfortable, that
Yes,
means you're just doing everything that you've always done, right? That's where comfort lies.
absolutely.
The comfort lies in the known,
Yes.
not the unknown. And if you want the growth, you have to start dabbling in the unknown. And it's not fun at first, but I would say even write down a list of something you can do every day to make yourself uncomfortable, but will lead to growth. And
Yes.
just do it. Just do it and then journal about it later. What happened? How did you feel during and how did you feel after and how worth it was it? Because I think at the end of the day, people, when they write it down and look at it, they will understand that they were very uncomfortable. But at the end of it,
Yes.
they felt a little bit of pride and
Yes.
they'll want to keep doing it.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yes, journaling about it is amazing. It is amazing. And I always say, give yourself goals and just when you meet those little goals little by little, then you start building your confidence. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, look, I did this. It's a smaller goal. Let's make it a bigger goal. Oh my, I did this too. So, if you give yourself goals that you're going to meet, you're going to build the confidence that you need.
Yeah, and I think it's for everything, right? You're saying, yeah, put these goals for everything, right? Write it down.
Yeah.
Have this habit tracking going on where you are constantly doing something new and something different. Don't let your calendar this month look exactly the same as last month.
Yes.
If it's your career you're trying to grow or whatever it be, if everything looks the same as the month before and the month before, what growth can you even expect? If it didn't happen last month, it didn't happen the month before. Like,
Yep.
just slight alterations constantly. Pattie, where can people find your book?
They can find it on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble. They can find it on my website, pattieehsaei.com, anywhere where you get your book.
Okay.
And yeah, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Duchess
Okay.
of Decorum. So yeah, I'm everywhere.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. This was a really fun conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun, and I really appreciate your insight.
Yeah, absolutely.